Okay, if anybody depends on you financially, whether it's a child, an aging parent, a business partner, you need life insurance. And the reality is that most people, even who have insurance, need 10 times more than what they really have. So I want to recommend you to Policygenius. It makes it easy to compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. Why do you compare? Well, you can save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policygenius. So if you already have insurance, you want more, you want to check it out, go on Policygenius. If you don't have insurance, you really need to go on Policygenius. You could save $1,300 more per year on life insurance by using Policygenius to compare policies. Look, get started easy. First, head to policygenius.com/Donny. In minutes, you work out how much life insurance coverage you need and compare personalized quotes to find your best price. When you're ready to apply, the Policygenius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling, all for free. So once again, head to policygenius.com/Donny to get started right now. Policygenius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. All right, welcome to On Brand with Donny Deutsch. I am Donny Deutsch, and this is a podcast that's kind of built around one simple premise, that everybody, everything, every religion, every institution, every company, every product, every celebrity, every politician, every political party is a brand. As a matter of fact, if you've got a Facebook page or an Instagram page and you're creating your essence, you are a brand. We're all brands today. And so what we do on the show is we break down the brands each week that are kind of up and down, that are setting the zeitgeist in terms of where we're going, how we're getting there, and why we're getting there. And I interview a big personal brand in and of themselves. And this week it's former Senator Al Franken. Al Franken, of course, one of the original Saturday Night Live troupe, fantastic senator of the state of Minnesota, great thinker, great mind. He resigned amid some controversy, and we're going to ask him about if he had any regrets about that. I have a feeling he is, but he's one of my favorite politicians. But first, let's get to the brands of the week. Dun, dun, dun. First brand of the week is Eric Adams. Eric Adams last week won the New York Democratic primary for mayor. And when you win the Democratic primary in New York, you pretty much win for mayor. And what I think is so important about Eric Adams' brand is that, to me, he's a playbook for the Democrats. Eric Adams is a ex-cop, was a police captain, then was a borough president, and is a moderate. There were a lot of progressives running New York. He's tough on crime. And that's the formula for Democrats. You know, it's not complicated to me. And I've said this on Morning Joe. If every Democrat could be an ex-cop or an ex-military, I would love it, because it puts that kind of teeth, that toughness that sometimes Democrats don't have. And look, their only flank that the Republicans are going to run in the midterm is soft on crime and super wokeness, this crazy, over-liberalized thing. And if the Democrats take that away from them, take that away from crime, we're tough on crime also. The Republicans have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go on issues. They have nowhere to go on policies. As a matter of fact, and I've also said this, Democrats can get offensive when it comes to fighting crime, because if, once again, the Republicans in Congress voted down, in the Senate voted down not to investigate the January 6th insurrection where a cop was killed and other cops were mauled. So how tough on crime are you Republicans, if you don't want to look at that? But Eric Adams is the poster guy, grandchild of what the Democrats need to be. Stay near the middle. Stay away from the far left, and you'll get it right. That's what won you the House back in 2018, and that's what won you the presidency in 2020. Speaking of Republicans, a big brand down for Kristi Noem. She's a South Dakota governor. She is a rising star in the party, and she's been one of these tough guys on COVID. She questioned the grit of following, the other GOP governors that actually did put in mask mandates and things, and how tough and how gritty. Well, this is how tough your state is as a result of your toughness and not believing that COVID should be dealt with in a certain way. The state had 14,090 cases per 100,000 people, ranking South Dakota as the third highest rate in the nation. So there you are. There's your tough stance on COVID, and the people suffer. And so, to me, this is disgusting. And once again, there have been a few states, and Ron DeSantis in Florida, they've been right in the middle of the pack, although they haven't been very tough on COVID. But for the most part, the states that have not gotten right on COVID are not doing the job when it comes to preventing it. It's very simple. I heard a statistic the other day that 99.5% of cases of people who die from COVID are unvaccinated people right now. 99.5% of the deaths right now are people unvaccinated. This one's not complicated, kids, okay? It's not a political issue. It's a health issue. brand up for Addison Rae. Okay, Addison Rae, for those of you over the age of 40 or 50 or 60, is one of the biggest TikTok stars in the world. She's a 20, 21-year-old girl, and has 40, 50, 60 million followers just on her dancing and her cuteness or whatever it is that people get from watching her on TikTok. And I bring her up as a brand up is that it was interesting at the UFC this past weekend, the fight, the Conor McGregor fight, that they hired her to be a interviewer, to be a kind of a sportscaster for the night. And she put out a tweet, and I think it was self-mockingly saying my 3 months in taking a journalist class has me really prepared for this. And I think hopefully that was tongue-in-cheek. And a lot of people did have a problem with it. And it's no different than, frankly, now that, basically she's going to be in a movie, a remake of She's All That, is that what Hollywood is understanding is that there is no such thing now as a young movie star. Name a young movie star under the age of 30. The young movie stars are the TikTok stars and the social media stars. There is no 25-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio, There is no 25-year-old, I'm going to date myself, Julia Roberts or even Scarlett Johansson, because that's not, so to me, all of these TikTok people are going to move into the movies, are going to move into sportscasting, because that's the fertile ground. That's where follow the eyeballs. So a lot of people, Addison Rae doing sports. This is where the eyeballs are. This is where the young people are going. This is the fertile ground. This is where they're being raised. They're not being raised in movies anymore, not being raised in TVs. So these are the future stars, like it or not. Thumbs up for Fox News. Yes, I'm going to say it again. Thumbs up for Fox News. Not really. It's a little tongue-in-cheek thumbs up. They got something a little right. Trump spoke at CPAC and was spewing all his lies again about the vote and about the rigged election and everything. And Fox actually put up a disclaimer. They wrote, quote unquote, this is what they put on a chyron, voting system companies have denied the various allegations made by President Trump and his counsel regarding the 2020 election. Now, of course, they're doing this as a result of being sued for $2.7 billion defamation suit by Smartmatic, by one of the companies that made the voting machine. So maybe their lawyers are telling them to do this, or I don't know if they grew a conscience, but at least, by the way, they shouldn't even airing. Other networks don't even air Trump's bullshit anymore, but at least they're putting a disclaimer on it. So let's give them a kind of a hedged thumbs up. Brand up for Apple and a brand down for all broadcast TV. Now, Apple is in early talks to stream NFL Sunday ticket games. Of course, DirecTV has that now. And early this year, NFL finalized media deals for the next decade, including Amazon Prime will be the exclusive home for Thursday Night Football. Once the streaming services, okay, the Netflix, the Amazons, the Apples, the Googles, decide they're going to take over football, and I don't mean just put a toe in the water. The broadcast network, it's the final nail in the coffin of broadcast networks. Broadcast networks are held up by football, by professional sports, and particularly football, because they can't attract young men any other way. They can't sell beer any other way. They can't sell automobiles any other way. And this is their tentpole. And once they don't, and this is the way they promote all their fall shows. So once the streamers decide, that's it, we're taking over football, which they're doing. This is just one more step. This will heighten the kind of the end of broadcast TV. They can't exist without football. And so, that's it. So thumbs up for Apple getting into the football business, thumbs down for the future of broadcast TV. Thumbs up for Queen and Joni Mitchell. Now, once again, for our younger viewers under the age of 60 who don't know who Joni Mitchell is, great, I don't know if you call her blues, but a great solo artist, one of the great female voices of all time from the 60s and 70s. And basically, over the weekend on iTunes, on their top 40, Queen was number one and Joni Mitchell, who was number two. Now, these songs were from Queen's Greatest Hits, was number one, and Joni Mitchell's Blue album. One was from 1981, one was from 1971. Now, explain to me what's going on. Is it that just boomers have discovered iTunes and they're late to the party? And Creedence Clearwater Revival, one of my greatest bands of all time, hits his number 14 and has been on the top 10 for weeks. ABBA, Journey, Fleetwood Mac, top 50. Is it because they're not making good new pop hits anymore? I don't know. It's just, if you would have said to me, Joni Mitchell and Queen, maybe Queen, because Queen is so much in the culture and movies and things like that. But Joni Mitchell, there you go, clouds. Okay, brand up for Coors Light. There's a lot of marketers doing shtick marketing today, trying to come up with special ways to draw attention to their brands. How about this? The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup last week. They beat the Montreal Canadiens. And Coors Light, the official beer of the Lightning, is concocting a beer made with actual ice from the Stanley Cup final. They're basically taking the actual ice from the arena, and they're going to purify it somehow, make sure it's safe for consumption of fan, and in special marked Coors cans, Coors bottles, whatever it is, you can get the beer that's made with the actual melted ice from the arena. There you go. I don't know. Do you even want that? And is there sweat still on the ice? I'm not sure, but I'm going to give Coors a brand up because there you go. Somebody's thinking, they got their thinking cap on and gets attention for the brand, so why not? Big brand up for Heinz. Here's why, and I don't know why this took so long to do it. Heinz called for a new petition to equal the number of packaged hot dogs and buns. They launched a kind of an online petition that says, wait a second, there are 8 hot dogs in a pack and 10 hot dog buns. What's going on? Can't we get this together? Can't we have a petition? So they have a petition on change.org, more than 24,000 people. They are the uniter of buns and wieners for over 150 years. That's why they position themselves. Now, of course, they don't make buns. They don't make hot dogs, but they make ketchup, they make mustard, they make relish. So who better to be arbitrator and solve this discrepancy, this tremendous arithmetic discrepancy between buns and wieners than Heinz? They're a little late to the game, but I'm going to give them a brand up. Let's get rid of those. Remember there was that great scene in Father of the Bride where Steve Martin ended up going to jail because he was so frustrated in a supermarket. Of course, the buns and the hot dogs weren't the same, amount. So there you go. Okay, brand up for Chick-fil-A. Brand up with a big caveat for Chick-fil-A. America's favorite fast food restaurant for the 7th year in a row. There's a study by the American Consumer Satisfaction. They interviewed 19,000 fast food customers. And here are the top 10. See if you can guess them. Chick-fil-A is number 1. Now, if you haven't had a Chick-fil-A, it's basic, built on a simple premise. A great sandwich, a grilled chicken with butter and a pickle on a roll. Go figure. And they're monsters. Number 2 is Domino's. 3 KFC, Starbucks, Five Guys, Panera, Pizza Hut, Arby's, Chipotle, and Dunkin'. The caveat is that Dan Cathy, who actually interviewed on Mel Big Idea a long time ago, his family, he's the CEO of the company. They are very, very, very hard right. He's given to very anti-LGBT charities over the years. They've talked about their stance. They've taken a lot of shit for it, and they've supposedly backed off on it, but they do not have a stellar history. And I've talked a lot on this show about that companies that want to be near and dear to the hearts of their consumers have got to be on the right side of the social issues. And it hasn't affected them yet. They're in the South. They're in a lot of B and C and D counties. They just recently came to the more bigger urban areas. So they're going to have to be clever about that. But right now we give them big thumbs up because the consumers voted for them. Big brand up with Levi's. Okay, basically the pandemic has expanded waistlines. Levi's sales are booming. About 42% of the people in a recent survey said they gained weight during the pandemic. And Levi's says second quarter sales surged 148% from a year ago, basically on their wide-legged jeans. That's it. Not a lot of these kind of new maker jeans that you wear, and the more designer jeans is like such an 80 term, but the kind of the more high-ended branded jeans, they're all skinny, they're all fitted, and they're not those kind of wide leg jeans that Levi's make. And the pandemic has been very good to Levi's, so brand up there. Brand up for Hasbro and specifically Barbie. They finally figured out what Lego figured out. Lego was kind of a nice, sleepy toy company. They make Lego blocks, and they figured, you know what? We're kind of in the entertainment business. We entertain kids. So why can't we entertain them in movies and theme parks? And guess what? They made those Lego movies, which were a monster, both commercial and critical success. They opened up Legolands. And Hasbro was figured out, just like DC Comics figured out, we're in the entertainment business. Yes, we make comic books, but we entertain young people and we can make movies out of that. Hasbro's going, wow, we got brands like Thomas the Truck and Hot Wheels and Barbie. And they're making their first Barbie movie with Margot Robbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. And the early runs on it is they're bringing Barbie. It's a live action movie with Margot Robbie as Barbie, and she gets my vote for Barbie. Yes, who better? And I think it's going to be a lot of tongue in cheek. I think they're going to kind of make fun of some of the traditional parts of the brand, like that they don't have genitals and things like that from another era, but yet make it hip. And what a great idea! And they've got a Hot Wheels movie that's under development. So kudos to the CEO and the management team there that they understand the toy business is their toe in. The toy business, I'm not going to say is a dead business, but has a ceiling to it. The entertainment business, where the brand business that they're in has no ceiling to it. And the first big step is Barbie, the movie. I'll be first in line. Speaking of movies, and brand up to Michael Keaton suiting up as Batman again. Michael Keaton was the best Batman of all time. I don't care. They've had Clooney, they've had Affleck, they've had Val Kilmer, Christian Bale. But when in the first two Batmans, when Tim Burton chose Michael Keaton, was very controversial because he was not your traditional leading man. You know, he had just done Beetlejuice at that time and some other tongue-in-cheek, you know, some other really kind of offbeat cult comedies. But he added that twisted thing that came to Batman. Every Batman has had since, and obviously the character's a little twisted, but that dark side, that kind of smirky side, he just did it brilliant. One of my favorite actors of all time. And they resurrect him. He's going to be in The Flash. He's going to play Batman in The Flash in the new DC Comics movie coming up, and I can't wait for that. That's going to be a big deal. Thumbs, I want to say some thumbs down for the Tokyo Olympics, but thumbs, it really sucks for the Tokyo Olympics. Of course, they're happening. They're breaking in the next week, the Olympics, and the Delta variant has really hit in Tokyo. So not only will there be no world travelers going there won't even be people from Tokyo in the audience. No audience in the Olympics. And boy, I think that's going to really, really hurt them. I feel terrible for these athletes that have trained their whole life. Obviously, the world stage will still be television, but I'm thinking about swimming. I'm thinking about some of those. Look, basketball work without people in the stands, and gymnastics. So it's still going to be amazing, but it sucks for them. It really, really, really does. It's already been delayed a year. But so we're going to give we love you, Tokyo Olympics, a thumbs up, but it sucks thumb, all right? And a thumbs down for Team USA basketball. Okay, this should not happen. In one of the exhibitions, Nigeria beat the team that has Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, you know, great. They don't have LeBron, they don't have Curry, but they certainly have 12 amazing stars on the team. And they lost in the first round of Nigeria. This does not bode well. The only other time the Olympic team did not win the Olympics, they lost an exhibition game to Nigeria. So wake up call there. So please. Pete Davidson, a brand, I'm not sure. Pete Davidson had an interview we talked about. He's got over 100 tattoos. And over the next 2 years, he's going to be doing laser treatment surgeries to get rid of all 100. Problem is, every time he makes a movie now, unless it's a movie that wants a guy with 100 tattoos in it, he's got to sit for 3 hours of makeup getting rid of the tattoos. And he said, look, when you have a Winnie the Pooh tattooed, it doesn't always translate to every movie-making experience. So I say, yeah, it makes sense, but isn't that part of the Pete Davidson brand? You know, are you that same bad boy when you're not tatted up? Machine Gun Kelly, you know, who's the dude that's dating Megan Fox? What's that guy? I can't remember his name. But these dudes are head to toe tats. And if you know, I don't know, do you lose something in your brand? I love Pete Davidson. He's one of the great young comedian stars today. He walks on any screen or stage, he owns it. But you take the tats away, do you lose a little of Samson's hair? I'm not sure. We'll see. Big brand down for Conor McGregor. What an asshole. He lost, obviously, to Dustin Poirier, and afterwards was still threatening, I'm going to kill you, kicked him at the pregame, talked smack about his wife. And, you know, it's bad enough we have to put up asshole sports guys when they're winners. But, dude, you're 1-3 in your last 4 MMA fights. You've lost 3 of your last 4 MMA fights. So shut the fuck up, all right? You don't get to be an asshole. I don't think anybody gets to be an asshole. But when you're winning, unfortunately, we live in a society that we celebrate winners and we put up with a lot of stuff. Not losers. No such thing as losing assholes. I'm sorry. You don't get to be the asshole anymore. You lost, so sit down and shut the fuck up, okay? Finally, a nice brand down for Donald Trump. You know, every time you think that it can't get any worse with this asshole, a new book comes out and tells the story of Chief of Staff John Kelly when they went to mark the 100th anniversary of the First World War, and they were going to the cemeteries. And he said that Donald Trump said, well, Hitler did a few good things, or did a lot of good things. I'm going to write that again. This is according to Kelly in this new book. Well, Hitler did a lot of good things. And Kelly explained to him, no, there were no good things he did. And Trump's response was, well, the economy was really, really good, and he helped the economy. That's where this guy's mind was. I mean, what else do you need to know about this human being? Hitler did a lot of good things. There was always rumors, and in one of his wife's divorce suits against him, she said he had Mein Kampf next to his bed. This is, of course, from the great man that said there were some great people at Charlottesville on the other side, of course, the Nazi side. So seems to have a fascination with the Nazis. And I actually got in trouble on it, on MSNBC a lot of times for drawing the parallels. But I'll say it again, he followed a Hitler playbook, not in terms of genocide, but in terms of what it takes for a dictator to get power. You create another, you damn the media, you get rid of you make the Justice Department your own, or you say so many lies out there that nobody knows what the truth anymore. There was a playbook that Hitler and all other dictators uses. So once again, a stunning Trump down. Wonder if there'll ever be a Trump up for us on here on brand. But a brand down once again. He shows up all the time on the show for Rudy Giuliani. Kind of a pathetic brand down. He had put up a GoFundMe page to raise $5 million for his legal fight. Of course, he's got his legal woes that he's going to be fighting as far as illegal lobbying for the Ukrainian bad guys, if you will. And he set out to raise $5 million. He took it down because they raised a total of $9,000. So he can't, at this point, he can't even raise money. I mean, that's the death knell for this guy. And no greater fall from grace than this guy. There's if I was going to say how a brand can fall, I can't think of a person, a place, or a thing whose brand, although Donald Trump is up there also, his buddy, can go so dramatically in one direction. But Giuliani, who of course was America's mayor and one of the great leaders in this country post 9/11, and now is a national joke with shoe polish running down his face, but couldn't even raise any dough. How to take down the page, how to take down the web page. So very, very sad for our friend Rudy Giuliani. A belated brand up for Toyota. Actually, it's really a brand up for the Lincoln Project, and a brand down pass for Toyota, now a brand up for Toyota. Lincoln Project took out, they're very, very smart. Now they're going directly after the company. Of course, the Lincoln Project is a bunch of ex-Republicans who banded together to fight Trump, and they did some brilliant advertising, very much Republican type advertising. They go for the jugular, but on behalf of anti-Trump. And now they're going after companies. They ran an ad specifically designed at Toyota saying that you are supporting, everybody needs to know that you are supporting guys, you senators and congressmen who did not vote, who voted the day on Trump's side on the day of the insurrection. They ignored the insurrection and just went ahead with the vote. And basically they responded. That basically they just said, in April, the company said it was not appropriate to, originally, Toyota said, we're not going to judge members of Congress solely based on their votes on the electoral certification. Between then and now, the motor company donated more than $50,000. Well, now guess what? They've changed their tune and they said, oops, we're not going to give any money anymore to people that wouldn't certify the election. And, that's the way you go after, that's the way you solve the problem. You go after the people that were giving money to some of these assholes, and it stops. So basically, that's a playbook for the future. And I think you're going to see a lot more of these political campaigns aimed specifically at companies that are funding some of the very, very, very extreme politicians. It's going to be very interesting to see companies, for instance, that are backing folks like Josh Hawley. That what kind of money, what kind of corporate money is he going to be able to get? And I think Josh Hawley is folks like that are going to have a problem. And finally, our biggest brand up to the week to the hotel staff at Denver's Maven Hotel. This was the Sunday before the All-Star game. They found more than a dozen weapons, 1,000 rounds of ammunition at a hotel near Coors Field. Right. And, the authorities really believe they were set for some kind of massacre to go towards the All-Star game. And the cleaning staff found it hidden away in one of the hotel rooms that overlooks Coors Field. So biggest brand up to the week to the housekeeping staff at Denver's Maven Hotel. And those are our brands of the week. Hey guys, let's take a quick break. I want to hear from our sponsor. You want to hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back. Okay, look, we're all under a lot of stress. We all work hard. There's so many pressures. It's hard to stay healthy. It's hard to do the right nutritional stuff, the right workout stuff. And I want to recommend to you Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, look, I take it. It is an amazing superfood power. It's a nutritional essential. It's by far the easiest and most delicious nutritional habit you can add to your daily routine and empower towards better habits. Look, one taste, listen to this, is really important. And I use this. It's fantastic stuff. One tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients, including a multivitamin, a probiotic, green superfood blend, and more. They all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet. It increases energy. It's increased my energy and focus, and aids with digestion and supports a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products of pills. So once again, if you want that one simple place to get all your nutritional stuff packed in, stuff you need for energy, the nutrients you need, the minerals, it's Athletic Greens. And I'm telling you, it is the all-in-one. It's a lifestyle friendly, whether you eat with keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free or gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar without compromising on taste. And whether you're looking for peak performance or better health, this is where you go. It's tasty and efficient. And right now, Athletic Greens has got year-round immune support by offering my audience, this is just for you guys, a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit my link today. Simply visit, listen to this, athleticgreens.com/Donny and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters who make their daily commitment to health every day. Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/Donny. Get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. Athletic Greens, I'm telling you, if you're watching me on video, you can see I'm in good shape here. Athletic Greens, this is what you want. Okay, this is for somebody who is on the go, who doesn't want to be super tied down, wants the best of something, but wants the flexibility, and this is what I'm talking about with Burrow Furniture. Now, what's great about the furniture, it's some of the highest quality furniture you get anywhere, but you can kind of put it together and take it apart easily. If you've got to move quickly, if you want to move, it's easy to assemble, it's easy to move, it's innovative modular design and super helpful instructions make assembling and disassembling your furniture quick and hassle-free. So when it's time to move, your Burrow Furniture won't hold you back. If you're somebody that moves every few years or every year, or even every 5 years, 7 years, Burrow is a great thing to think about. It's designed for the way you live. Their award-winning Nomad sofa has built this is kind of the way how smart this stuff is. Their award-winning Nomad sofa has a built-in USB charger so you can take conference calls from the couch or just keep scrolling Twitter. Their credenzas are perfect for your TV with adjustable height, interior shelves, and cord organizing holes at each corner. It's easy to shop for. Spare yourself the warehouse trip and just shop online. Everything is designed perfect for your living space. Fast, free shippings on every order, and it saves you an average of $100 on large items like a couch. Right now, you get $75 on your first order at burrow.com/Donny. That's BURROW.com/Donny. That's BURROW.com/Donny for $75 off your Burrow purchase. Burrow.com/Donny. This is really smart furniture, guys. Check it out. Trust me. Let's get to our interview. I was so excited to sit down with Al Franken, one of the great modern thinkers of our time. I think one of the great senators of the last 50 years. And here's our interview with Al Franken. Well, I am thrilled at today's guest at On Brand, Senator Al Franken. We've got a rather lengthy introduction here. Obviously, former senator of the great state of Minnesota. One of the founding kind of fathers of Saturday Night Live, original writer with the original cast and producer, 15 years there. Won 5 Emmys, although Wikipedia says 3, so we're going to get into the Franken Wikipedia battle a little bit later. 4 times best-selling New York Times author, including his books, one of my favorites, Rush Limbaugh is a Big Fat Idiot. He served on the Judiciary, the Energy, Indian Affairs, Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committees. Was one of the biggest parts of the Affordable Care Act. Basically, for everybody who's listening to this right now, you're paying less because Al Franken made it that 80% of what is going to insurance companies have got to actually go to people and not profit. And he's launching a only former U.S. Senator currently on tour, comedy stand-up tour launching in September. So a lot to talk about. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. It's the, it's the only former U.S. Senator currently on tour.
Although a lot of current U.S. senators, including your friend Mitch McConnell, feel like they're on a comedy tour right now.
I don't think Mitch feels like he's on a comedy tour.
It feels like that to us, though.
Well,
it feels like that.
There's nothing really that funny about Mitch. He really had no sense of humor whatsoever.
By the way, I would love everybody to go to YouTube. Senator Franken did an amazing 8-minute take on
well, you saw that, okay.
Which kind of sums up the Republican Party, and it's brilliant. I would have everybody go watch it. Senator, first, I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody: what's the Al Franken brand?
Oh, that's because that's your brand that's the brand of this brand. Thing. I guess my brand is let's see, liberal senator in the in the tradition of Wellstone and Mondale and Humphrey from Minnesota, and also who happens to have been a comedy writer, comedian.
Right.
So that's my my satirist.
All right. Speaking of comedy, let's start with SNL, because I grew up with it. It's maiden year. I was a freshman in college, so I mean I was at the heart of the target audience. If we go back to it, and as you and your ex-partner Tom Davis were two of the apprentice writers, you made a big $350 a week between the two of you.
Wow, you did your research.
I did a research. I've read Shale's book a bunch of times, and it really kind of chronicles the beginning of it. If you give one memory of the first night of as this thing was going, did you have any idea it was going to be what it was going to be?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. I remember Tom Davis and I went to high school together, and we're a comedy team and wrote together as a team. And Tom was a much more cynical person than I was. And I remember saying to Tom, and I'm not sure it was opening night out of the first show, which was the George Carlin show. I don't remember if it was that night, but I said, Tom, this is going to be a huge hit. And he went, yeah. And I went, no. Look, it's the first time our generation has been allowed on TV. And, we had been, 6 months, 9 months prior to this, an agent, a William Morris agent, had seen us at the Comedy Store and asked us to come in and said, would you guys like to write for TV? And we said, yeah, but there's no show on that we'd be right for. And that means
the Phyllis Diller show was probably the high point of comedy on television.
Well, no, actually, Carol Burnett was on at the time. It was a great show. Right, I think it was a great show. And the Carson and Tonight Show, I thought was a really good show. I love Carson. It's just we weren't right for it. And Sonny and Cher was on at the time, and that was crap. So and so I said, I don't think we said we're not right for anything. He said, write a sample of stuff for a show you'd like to see on TV. And we wrote a newscast. We wrote a commercial parody. We wrote a sketch, and we wrote a conceptual film.
Yeah.
And what people don't
realize, the first few shows were nothing like it today. It was just basically a bunch of different comedy acts. You had
it was sort of like Midnight Express for comedy. I mean, Carlin, I think, did 2 or 3 monologues. Valerie Bromfield, I think, was one. We had like 2 or 3 musical guests, like Janice Ian and Billy Preston. It was very much like a variety show, and it took only a few shows to find
the Candice Bergen show was
exactly
the one where you guys hit your stride. Yeah,
that's right, and exactly, and the show became the show gradually. Well, that's not so gradually, because that was pretty quickly. But the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, fifth years were really exciting. The fifth year is a bit of a challenge because both Danny and Belushi were out doing for most of the year doing the Blues Brothers, so we lost 2 of our real heavyweights.
We could spend 4 hours on Saturday Night Live, but just one last question. Mm-hmm. Your personal high point and low point on the show. Obviously people don't understand the Vietnam quality behind the scenes of what goes on there, putting a show together.
The high point is when something it's a live show, right? So the high point is when something just kills on air that, you're going like, this could kill, or it might not. It's live, right?
Right.
And so a couple of high points were Stuart Smalley with Michael Jordan.
Right.
Which
right. Yeah.
And he made a couple of adjustments that I had asked him to do. He was an unbelievable pro. I'm brilliant in that. And then, but Julia Child bleeding to death. Tom and I had written that. And it was one of the few pieces that killed in dress the week before, but we held it because the blood gushing wasn't working quite right. The timing wasn't right. And here's the great thing. So you have special effects guys. They're the union guys, right? And we loved them and they loved us. And Tom and I had written Julia Child Bleeding Death script. And Tom really knew exactly there was a insecticide sprayer underneath the counter. And the special effects guys knew that Tom knew the piece and knew that Tom knew, and Danny and he had it figured out. And so for that show, for Dress and that show, Tom was underneath the counter pumping the insecticide sprayer. And it was like perfect.
Let's take a quick break and get some words from our sponsors. Why do just 4 companies control 80% of the U.S. meat industry? Because it's not good for the consumers, first of all, because big food crushes the little guy. Now you can help change that with moinkbox.com. They make some of the best meat around. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pasteurized pork and chicken, and wild-caught Alaskan salmon direct to your door, helping family farms become financially independent outside of big agriculture. So if you want the best stuff, if you want the best meat, you want the best fish, you want the best pork, and you also like helping the small farmers as opposed to the big guys, this is where you want to go. This is what it's about, all right? So here's the deal. Sign up at Moink Box, that's MOINK box.com/Donny. I love this, to get a year of bacon for free. Whoa. I've been doing ads for a lot of different things on the show. Anything that gives you a year of bacon for free has got my vote. So you go to moinkbox.com/Donny, get a year of bacon for free. I'm just loving this. And pick up any meats you want delivered with your first box. Change what you get each month and cancel anytime. I'm telling you, it was founded by an 8th-generation farmer who was featured on Shark Tank. And one of the hosts said it's the best bacon he's ever tasted. I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. They guarantee you'll say, oink, oink. I'm just so happy I got moinked. I love this company. I love their little slogans. I love the free bacon for a year. So join the Moink movement today. Go to moinkbox.com/Donny right now and listen to the show. Get free bacon for a year. My mission is done in life. I'm offering a product, a deal that gives people free bacon for a year. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste. But for a limited time, it's MOINK box.com/Donny. That's moinkbox.com/Donny. Free bacon for a year. Look, we all love a glass of wine to unwind. Not we all, but most of us. I know I do, going out with friends. I love wine with my fish. I just love it. And sometimes your local wine store doesn't have every variety and you want to try new things. And that's where Vivino comes in. They're the world's biggest online wine marketplace. They're the largest online wine community with 50 million users who rate and review just about every wine. It covers just about any favorite, you name it. Plus, they suggest 10 exciting personalized recommendations based on your taste. Look, some of the time, I use this thing. I never knew some of these wines existed. Now I know more about every wine that I like, thanks to Vivino. Their app is everything you need to know about wine. By the way, I know I'm one of these people that go out. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about on wine, but I know this allows you to do that. And if you do know what you're talking about, you're going to find some of the most obscure wines you can't find anywhere. So their app is everything you need to know about wine and so much more right in your hand. You can see all the ratings and reviews, and you can leave your own, and of course, even buy wine. My favorite thing to do is scan a bottle when I'm shopping in the store and seeing what Vivino's owners say about it. So look, I've stepped up my wine game thanks to Vivino. You can too. Here's the deal. Go to vivino.com/Donny and use code Donny at checkout to save 20% on your first order of up to $200. That's vivino.com/Donny, code Donny, to save 20% on your first order of up to $200. Vivino.com/Donny, code Donny. See site for details. Terms apply. Vivino. What's your take on the show today?
I think I would like to see a smaller cast.
Yeah.
I think it does a disservice. A lot of great people there. But when we started the show,
you had seven
there were
cast members. Yeah.
Exactly. There were 7 cast members. And now I saw like 20 names in that opening montage. Yeah. And that does, I think, a disservice to almost pretty much everyone. Because when you have 7 cast members, they're all not only just in the show, but they're doing a lot of stuff. and you're doing a range of stuff. And what that does is it builds your confidence. Like Kate McKinnon has plenty of confidence now.
Yeah,
obviously. Keaton Thompson has plenty of confidence. But how are these new people especially, but how are they supposed to develop their chops if there are 20 of them? So I think that's one thing I'd like to see, Lorne think about. And I've talked to him about it a little bit. And, I wrote a lot of the political stuff.
Sure.
And I think sometimes Jim Downey and I, and Tom, and other people too, but Jim and I wrote a lot of the political stuff in our time. He is a brilliant, brilliant writer and conservative. He's actually like a Republican.
Wow, I never knew that. That's interesting.
He hates Trump.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He's a thoughtful, but he and I had a thing which was, and I think this is Jim's, that we wanted to reward people for knowing stuff, but not punish them for not knowing.
Really? Yeah.
And so, in other words, you did a sketch, and
there was something
it'd
inside.
be okay if you didn't.
There was something inside of it for the real, cognizant. And if you were just a casual observer of politics, you were going to get it also. So take something different.
Nothing would conflict with reality. So if you did a sketch, and Jim Jordan was in it, if it was a hearing sketch, and I've seen sketches in the new show where they just play Jim Jordan as dumb. And Jim Jordan isn't the smartest guy in the world by any means, but that's not his main characteristic. Mm-hmm. The main characteristic is he's a belligerent
he's a
asshole.
Pugilist, yeah.
Yeah. And
so that's
a wrestler.
We're not going to go into Jim Jordan's wrestling history.
No, but I mean, technically, there's a pugilist, as you know, boxing.
Okay, right.
And wrestling is, you can't do that. You can't hit a guy, Donnie. I used to wrestle. I wrestled in high school. If you went out there and just slugged a guy, they'd throw you out.
I'm going to sound dumb. I thought pugilistic was just somebody who was a fighter. I didn't know it was a specific word. See, I try and throw these SAT words around. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I love that. Hey, what did you brought up Lorne Michaels.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I'm usually wrong. So, but it's one of my great qualities. I read a book called "Often Wrong, Never in Doubt." So my great quality is a very. So what did you learn from Lorne that helped you? Obviously, his management style has been torn and ripped apart every which way, legendary, and there are some great Lorne fans and great Lorne detractors. He has a very unique way of managing people and managing talent. What did you take away from him that helped you as a senator?
Well, he is brilliant. He's brilliant in the way he's done this. And I know that is something that I would never be brilliant at. Now, as a senator, I think I managed my staff really well. But it's a different thing, obviously.
Well, but you're still managing people. You're still managing egos and getting the best out of people and finding what motivates different people. So obviously different universe, but it's still a person who's got to get the most out of the talent that they have.
Well, yes and no, because my staff is like, if you're my judiciary LA, he doesn't want to be a star.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't want a movie deal in the summer, so it's a little different. He wants to get some legislation written and done. And so does the healthcare person, and she wants to get, the medical loss ratio, which is what you referred to, the 80% thing, was something worked up by Lauren Gilchrist, who is my healthcare LA and I. And the fact is that in Minnesota, we would keep track of what insurance companies spent on actual healthcare versus what they spent on marketing, administrative costs, and CEO salaries. Now, there wasn't any law in Minnesota that that number had to hit anything, but I just went like, why don't we make it a law that you have to spend 80% of your premiums on actual healthcare and 85% for a large group plan, small group 80. And that has saved, not only is it people get refunded if they don't hit that mark. So that's people have been refunded billions of dollars, but more importantly, it's made insurance companies a lot more efficient. And if you hear Bernie go like, the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies, between them, make $100 billion a year, most of that's pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And part of that, why it's not as much for insurance is deep.
It's interesting. You with all of that you do, and you were a senator for, is it 7-8 years? You get 8.5.
Eight and a half.
If you get one thing spectacular done like that, that's a term well served. It's really interesting in how most presidents are graded on kind of one thing. If you think about Obama, it was Obamacare. He made the wrong call in Iraq. Trump will get, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not what you want to be known
usually
for.
One,
the horrible mistake.
Speaking of horrible mistakes, I just want to get to Trump. Will you explain to me, because we pull it apart on TV on MSNBC so much, but in your assessment as somebody who understands human behavior, understands politics, understands the world, that on the second time around, after, I understand the first time people who voted for Trump, I still was repulsed by him, but okay, let's give him a shot, and it's something different, and maybe he's just saying these things to get elected, blah, blah, blah. 75 million Americans, 40% of Americans watched those 4 years and afterwards went, thumbs up. Yep, more of that. Please explain in 3 paragraphs or less.
First of all, it's amazing, but that's not a paragraph, okay?
Because
it's the first sentence. Okay, this is what I think, that we're in a very troubling time, which is that we have an incredible amount of disinformation flying out there constantly. And people are profiting. First of all, they profit from it. Secondly, Republican leaders don't mind putting it out. They're completely cynical. Talk about McConnell, but that's just a cynic. But there are demagogues out there. There are, and Trump certainly is the lead. If you look at his performance in COVID, he could have won this if he had handled COVID.
Won it going away.
Right,
Before COVID,
right?
he won it going away. All he had to do was be a normal, wartime president. In other words, just say, I care about people, let's get it done. Would have blown it. That's actually the time to shine. That was one of the things that made Biden so special, is by comparison, he was just doing what any decent leader would be doing. So yes, agree 1,000,000%.
What he did, which was crazy, was, first of all, he didn't want the stock market to go down. But it was like, don't you see that you don't want the stock market to go down today.
Right.
You don't want the stock market to go down tomorrow. It's going to go down if people start dying and we have to close businesses. So that's incredibly short-sighted. And then what they did was they gave it to the and that was a political decision. Andy Slavitt has a book out called Preventable. And in it, he talks to Kushner a number of times. They gave it to the states to do testing, to do everything, because literally, and Kushner says this to Slavitt, if they fail, we blame them. Now, giving it to the states is like after Pearl Harbor, if
we're FDR
leave it
up to everybody to decide, yeah.
This is really Hawaii's problem. This is first of all, it's global. And so we led a global effort on Ebola. We went in there. The CDC spotted it before other people did because they're well funded. He reduced funding for the CDC in Africa, in China. This is don't get me started, right? But but why? Because he is a person who does not hold himself accountable for anything. He is a person who refuses. Can you imagine that? The president of the United States is a person who wants no accountability.
I believe he's a sociopath. And if anybody looks up sociopath in the dictionary, it is like he is the poster boy. I answer the question, my own question.
He laps
I answer the
sociopaths.
question. The explanation for 75 million is it's 2 pieces. It's first of all, the simple dictator's playbook, you create another. There are enough unhappy people in this country, not 75 million, but say 40 of, there's a lot of them that, no, it's not your fault, your lot in life. It's the Jews' fault or the blacks' fault or the Mexicans' fault or the media's fault or whatnot. And then you get enough,
but mainly the Jews.
And then you get enough wealthy people to look the other way. And those are the people that offend my sensibility, is even more than the ignorant racists, is the people, and you and I both know them, that knew better. But it's an extra 3% on the taxes or 4% on the taxes. And those are the people that make my skin crawl. But I think you add that up and you get 75 million.
Well, that's
enough of them.
Those groups are the group you're talking about, the 3% or whatever percent, I think it's higher than you might think, are the Reagan Republicans. But the real, it's really the Palin Republicans, who really were the driver here and became much bigger. And these are people who are dissatisfied, and they're dissatisfied for a reason. They look at the meritocracy, right? They look at people who are sort of self-serving. You know, this is why Hillary lost. I mean, I don't think of her as self-serving. They do. And they think of the elites who grow up of affluent, get put on a track and have success. And they go from Wilkes-Barre, they take a trip to D.C., and they see this enormously wealthy city. And they're going like, none of this beautiful stuff is happening in Wilkes-Barre. And screw you. This is all self-serving. It doesn't matter whether it's a self-serving, government guy or lobbyist for the Democrats or for the Republicans. I hate them all. And Trump ain't like that. That's what I think really happened.
You were probably in the Senate for about 2 years during Trump. Did a lot of the Republicans, were they privately rolling their eyes? I believe that these guys, most of them couldn't stand Trump. They wanted him gone. They were a prisoner to him because of the base. But were a lot of them in on the joke? It was anything but a joke. But did they get it? Or some of them just that fucking blind? Or that fucking corrupt? I don't want to say blind.
No, it's not. This is what it was. It was like they could not believe that he was going to be their nominee at the point he became the nominee. Yeah. They thought he was a joke. Lindsay thought he was a joke. Lindsay debated him and thought he was a complete joke. And so did most everyone. And then when he won, the day after, when we returned after he had won, they were just shaking their head and couldn't believe it. Gradually, they realized that the Republican base really liked this guy. And so they shut the fuck up. And they didn't say anything against him. And anybody who did, Jeff Flake, anybody, their career was over. And so these guys are there for one reason, which is to get reelected and to have this job. And this party, and then, there are really some decent people on their side.
I was about to say,
but not a lot. But there are people there that are just demagogues themselves.
You're a big Ted Cruz
look
fan.
At Ted Cruz. I like to say. Well, I like to say that I probably like Ted Cruz more than most of my other colleagues like Ted Cruz, and I hate Ted Cruz. And that's true. And part of the reason I kind of liked him a little bit is that Ted fancied himself as having a sense of humor and being a fan. So he was like, he would come up to me. I'd be talking to Jeff Sessions on the floor. I was friendly with Sessions. He was, I know he was racist, et cetera. Right. But I would, we'd be back. He was a friendly racist. And so his wife knit me a blanket when my grandson was born. Or knit my grandson a blanket. It was a blanket. I went, like my grandfather. Anyway, so I remember one weekend I'm talking to or Monday, and we've been gone a week, and I'm talking to Sessions, well, how was your week, Al? And I'm going like, oh, it was good. And then Ted comes over, and he goes like, Al, some friends of mine and I watched the Stuart Smalley with Michael Jordan, and that is just brilliant.
Right.
So that's why I like Ted Cruz more than most.
Nobody else had a sketch.
But then I was stuck trying to explain Stuart Smalley to Jeff Sessions, and so I had to explain recovery, cable access. It was very hard.
So he
was awful. Ted is just awful.
I've never met him, but he really is. The TV screen like a lizard. Like if you can't look at that person and say that is the opposite of human decency. On every level, I don't know how you're not sizing up human beings.
It's so weird because he chooses. He's very smart in a technical sense. I'm sure his SATs were really good. When he was a national college champion debater or something like that. But my goodness. There's something he's missing because this is how he chooses to be. Now, he's a senator from Texas and, probably will be as long as he wants to be, I guess.
Thing about the Republicans that I can't understand, I do understand it. It's obviously they all want to get reelected, but Trump lost. Trump lost the Senate, Trump lost the House, Trump lost the presidency, and it's a losing proposition again. Why can't somebody figure that out? Because it is, unless Biden, makes duty all over the floor, and he's done a yeoman's job so far, the same people that left Trump are not going to come back to him. And unless the Democrats spend the next 2 years saying defund the police, he's a losing proposition. So how do they, if you were the new czar of the Republican Party, how do you, other than having them go through another couple of losing cycles, what breaks this?
Well, it's a mess because the large majority of the Republican base are Trump fans. So these guys, many of the senators there can't lose if they get into the general. But they're just going to win. You're going to win in Nebraska. You're going to win in Oklahoma. Yes. So the only way you're going to lose is if you let someone get to your right where there's room. If you can't get in that room. So that explains it all, basically. So how does that cycle? I get why it's there. It's a survival
what breaks
thing.
That cycle? Because the party is a prisoner of Trump right now.
Unfortunately, well, they know this. So this is why we're having those election laws, those voting rights, those voting laws in these states. They're in a very tricky area. Fortunately for them, the population of the country has gathered in such a way that they are still getting away with being a minority party that can be in the majority. I mean, it's 50-50 in the Senate. If you look at the states that Republicans represent versus the states that Democrats represent tens of millions of more people. They also won the state legislatures. So they won down ballots in 20, which I didn't expect, and they did. And so that means they gerrymandered. Of course. And if you look at Michigan, if you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at Wisconsin, the kind of gerrymandering they do where Democrats in the state will win the popular vote for House members statewide by a significant percentage, like 4 or 5%, but the composition of their House delegation to Congress will be 2-1 Republican. And that's part of this. So they have a losing hand, and their only way they can play it is really to kind of cheat, and also that's a big part of it, and to appeal to that base. And so when they had the in 2014, after losing in 12, right, they had an autopsy. and Priebus was the chairman of the party, and they ordered an autopsy on why we lost and why Romney lost. And it was all, we have to expand our base. We have to expand to people of color, to Latino, Hispanics. And and I think Rubio thought, okay, there I go. That's good for me.
Sure.
And
sure.
I think Jeb Bush, that's good for me, and et cetera. No. Trump comes in and goes like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm going to go the opposite way. And no one stopped him, because everyone knew, anyone who went after Trump on, Jindal or anybody got blowed up, right? So all of them said, well, I want to be the last guy standing and go against Trump because I'll win. That didn't happen. Yeah. And now they're kind of stuck with us. They really are. Things have just gotten worse and worse and worse.
I think that's a spot on analysis. And what people I don't think those 75 million understand is how close. By the way, 2 or 3 crooked state legislators or another 40 or 50,000 votes, we get him for another 4 years, and our democracy would truly, truly have been ravaged with another 4 years. We really were on the precipice.
Absolutely.
This is what I was so repulsed by so many people, to the point of a Justice Department in the pocket, to guys like me could end up in jail. We were we were heading there. Trump would have been there for life after this, because he just wasn't smart enough to rig the system the first time around. But had, Brad Raffensperger, a few other guys, that's it. We were that close.
But here's the thing. This is something I'd like to pitch, because I'm on the board of the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. And I don't know, I think more people know about it now than ever before, because we won a victory in Colorado where we had a state ballot initiative on that because Colorado passed it. But what this is if you look at this, Biden won by 7 million votes. And yet, as you say, we were just like really 20,000 votes flipping, even legitimately 20,000 votes flipping from being a tie. This is ridiculous. And the way we do this is not the way the framers framed it.
This was not a basis of Madisonian democracy. This was not in the pillars of it.
No. Actually, in the first presidential election, and that was George Washington, but in many cases, a governor voted for him. In some states, they had no. We haven't really done this since really the 1880s. There's something called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. Minnesota belonged to the Great Lakes Interstate Compact, right? And to join the Great Lakes Interstate Compact, 1, you should be on the Great Lakes. 2, your state legislature passes a law saying we should join this, and the governor signs it, and you're part of it, and you follow the rules. Well, the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact just says, 15 states in D.C. have signed on to this, and between them, they have 195 popular votes, not popular, electoral votes. They get to 270, it triggers. And so we're trying to get there, and it's going to be a little bit of a difficult road because I've paid a lot of attention to the state legislatures. We needed some of them to flip. But this is the difference between one guy losing by 7 million and sustaining this challenge and almost successfully doing it and having an insurrection at the Capitol.
Let's move from the bad guys to the good guys. Give me a Biden grade so far, and in working with him, is there anything that's kind of surprising you on the up or downside of how he's doing so far?
Well, I think anybody who followed Biden during his career has been sort of impressed with sort of the way he has done a self-correction and not gone into some of the kind of things he used to fall into, like just talking too long. Right. And he used to do that all the time. With it, yeah. I mean, I've been at a number of events. And, well, it was hilarious. You'd be at an event, and he'd be on prompter, and he'd be following the speech, and then suddenly he'd go like, my dad said to me, Joey's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I lost my job, but I'm going to Delaware. And I'm going like, whoa,
right.
Well, you're talking now, you're supposed to be talking about the winners of the FDR award. And then but so I've been impressed with that. And I think that COVID had something to do with that, which is he couldn't travel around, be in front of crowds, get carried away. He had to do what he had to do. I think Ron Klain is just is brilliant. And I think Joe saw it. I think Joe saw it. He went, yep, this is the difference. This makes a difference. And he genuinely wants to get things done to help people. So when you're giving a $3,000 child tax credit and it's going to cut poverty in half, and what's amazing is if I was watching the joint session of Congress and he mentions that, and he mentions cutting poverty in half, and they didn't have all the Republicans in the shot, but they had like 2/3 of them. Not one
children
applauded or stood.
We're not for that. Yeah.
And to me, it's like,
we're not for that.
cut poverty in half. Nah. Then you're going to have to see what he gets accomplished, of course. But his speech was, let's do all the stuff we haven't done that we should do, and which we actually can't afford
pretty
not to
mom
do.
And pop, meat and potatoes stuff.
Like infrastructure.
No, let's not do infrastructure.
I mean,
who's for not doing infrastructure? It's like,
well, they're for doing it as, using leftover money from COVID. They're for cobbling together something, and they cared
about deficits as of November 3rd.
They're just ridiculous. I go on the floor. Yeah, they cared about with Obama. They didn't care about with Trump. I mean, I remember Tim Scott was the floor manager for the tax cut, the 17th tax cut. And I just went up to him. I said, this is CBO. Your CBO says this is going to be a $1.9 trillion price tag in terms of the debt. And you keep saying all I've ever heard you talk about is the debt. He goes, no, because of dynamic scoring. And I go, that never works. It's never worked. You know that. And then at one point he said, well, it also just makes sure that the government won't spend too much. And I just went, well, wait a minute. It's good for the government to spend on things that we need. He goes, no,
something called the
government's
New Deal.
never created a job. And I went, how about the Erie Canal? How about the interstate highway system?
That's amazing.
How about the space program? How about the internet? And he goes like, private money could have done that better.
The United States Senator, this country lives in the center. It actually lives just tiny right of center, but left of center will win also. The AOCs of the world concern me, where obviously I'm not saying she's well-intentioned, but if she or her platforms become the face of the Democratic Party, people will go back to Trump. And I know you're a liberal, and liberal has a wide swath, whereas...
I missed the top of this, but I'm thinking, is it AOC?
People will run back. So where are you as a liberal on how far the party can lurch left without kind of losing its way?
Well, first of all, she represents the people she represents in the House. And the people she represents in the House... Well, that's what they're for.
Simple math, right?
So there's that, which is a big thing. Secondly, some of the stuff, okay, I think we made some basic mistakes and it was very clear. And she didn't defund the police. It was the Minneapolis City Council. And that kind of coined it. Usually what I always say about Democrats and our messaging, that all our bumper stickers
can't go for the jug
end with continued on next bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Well, they found one for them, which was defund the police. Because you don't want to...
Of course.
What you want to reform the police. and you want, I was reading, and I don't usually read them. It was Brett Stevens and
Michelle Goldberg,
the woman he does the column with every once in a while, the back and forth.
Okay.
He goes like, well, I thought that it was okay to, reduce funding for the police and use social workers for domestic disputes. But then someone told me that sometimes those turn violent. And I went,
oh, Jesus.
You are a Pulitzer Prize winning columnist. You didn't know that? And you didn't know that there's ways to deal with that? I did something. One of the things I did in the Senate was get funding for crisis intervention training. Crisis intervention training is teaching cops how to recognize when a situation is fueled by mental illness or maybe drugs and alcohol. There are places that do this stuff really well. And part of the training in a place like Miami-Dade is that the 911 operators get the training. And
to
they ask questions when there's a call.
We need a social worker.
And they can ask the right questions so they can say, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they can understand, do we need a cop or do we need a social worker and a cop? Or do we need two social workers? I mean, but all this stuff is possible if you actually think about, or actually if you've bothered to do some reading. This is an op-ed in the New York Times. And these guys are talking like they've never, first of all, lived in life. Yeah. And so there's a lot of stuff we can do to reform the police. Yeah. And that bill, the George Floyd Criminal Justice Act, is a really good act. And I think that, and Tim Scott is part of that, is the leader for the Republicans, and I hope he gets help. I hope he gets that done. One of the issues is immunity for cops, that you can't sue the cop, and. I think if you do a compromise where you can sue the police department, qualified immunity is what I'm talking about. I was looking for the word. If you can sue the police department and that everything else in it is not really controversial. So I hope they get that done.
All right, let's shift a little bit to the next act, to Al Franken's next act, the comedy tour that's starting in September. What's the inspiration for it? What do we have to look forward to? And I think you are correct. You are the only U.S. senator who will be having a comedy tour. I can verify that. My fact checkers.
The only former U.S. senator currently on tour.
He's selling.
And we haven't checked with Lieberman, but I don't think. I think I'm in the clear.
Right.
He's doing it's all
playing at the Boca Jewish Center.
Tickets.
Give me what led to this and what we can look forward to.
Well, look, I love comedy. My dad loved comedy. I grew up laughing with my dad and my brother, and to some degree my mother, watching comedians. And I was a Sputnik kid. I was born in 1951. When Sputnik went up, we were behind the Russians or the Soviets in space, and they had nuclear weapons. My parents said, "You boys are going to study math and science so we can beat the Soviets." And I thought that was a lot of pressure to put on a 6-year-old. But my brother went to MIT, majored in physics, and became a photographer. And I went to a really good school and became a comedian. And my parents were fine with it. And I love comedy, and I love satire, and I love satirists like Richard Pryor. I love, Mort Saul and Lenny Bruce, and
For our younger audience out there, these were the guys that launched comedy, but modern comedy as we know it. But keep going, right?
Well, these are the guys who did satire, who did biting political satire. So I always love that. There are guys who do that now, but. Anyway, so the long and short of that is that was the career I chose. And after I left the Senate, after a period of licking my wounds and trying to get in the post-traumatic syndrome as opposed to just trauma. I started touring, and I was doing this all the way up to the night they closed everything down for COVID. So I was doing theaters in Portland and Oregon and Seattle and Boston and
at the Tiki Room on
Detroit.
Route 22. Right?
I was in South Orange when I came out, and it's the South Orange Performing Arts Center. A very classy place, and so I came out for that show, and I said, I'm afraid that we're all going to be quarantined. One of the ushers has a cough, and that was the last show. And then we went in the quarantine, and then so now I wanted, and I've been actually working out a little at the Comedy Cellar, and I just love comedy, and there's nothing quite like it.
I hear you. So you've answered this question on Conan already, but I asked, regret that we resigned? I mean, I'm regretful. Most of the population, yeah.
I do. It was someday I'll discuss this more in full, but I've had 10 of my former colleagues apologize publicly. More apologize to me, and that's unusual. And I think they screwed up, and I screwed up. It was a moment in time, and that's why I got this hit. This was a right-wing hit on me. I wish I was there every day. I wish I had been there for a lot of the questioning that I've seen, where that was one of the parts of the job I really liked.
You were good. You're so good at that. Yeah. Well, as the branding guy, I will tell you, as painful as that was, if you ever chose to run for office again, your brand would never be more appealing because there's one extra piece in it now. Voters would have empathy for you because the overwhelming majority of voters think that you should have not have left. And so there would be a huge wind at your back. So as somebody who does this for a living, I would say to you, Senator Franken, you should definitely come back. And is there a chance that is going to happen, either in New York or Minnesota, because you would win going away? Well,
I'm keeping my options open. Those options may be closed by the material I do in the tour.
There we go. Hey, Senator, I appreciate it. I've always been a big fan of you as an entertainer, big fan of you as a legislator. And
well, thank you. This has been just fun. I just knew this would be nothing but fun.
I appreciate it. And I will be, where are you playing in New York?
At Town Hall.
I will be there. And one more time, come back. The Senate could use you, man. And you will, and your brand has never been stronger. So don't think twice about it.
Well, thanks, Donny. From your lips to somebody's ears, the voters of some state.
Have a great day. And thanks, ladies and gentlemen, the comedy stylings of the great Senator Al Franken. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Donny.
Hope you enjoyed Al Franken. I loved him, one of my favorite interviews. So remember to go review, subscribe, and rate on anywhere you get podcasts, in Spotify, Apple, anywhere. And go to YouTube if you want to see the video version. And we love having you on brand. And you stay on brand and stay safe out there. We'll see you next week.